I have noticed ever since the most recent polls that there has been a growing sentiment that competitive players should have a bigger push on how Forsaken is balanced. This is coming from even pub players at this point, and while I don't disagree there should be some hands-on with competitive players, to the degree people are pushing for is not alright. I mean, I am a competitive player. I don't have any disrespect to the competitive scene in this way, but it's just genuinely the wrong call for the game. Before getting into why though, I need to clear up the statement a bit more because it has two different interpretations, which if you take one of them could be a lot worse for the game than the other. Now, just to set this straight, there's of course two different things people mean when they say balance the game using competitive players and all. First, we have balancing the game specifically around competitive, which I don't know why I need to say this. No! Don't! In competitive, you have so many more resources per character. Like, sandbagging is really, really strong. And don't say gashing the sandbaggers, I'll address that eventually. It's wrong. That's gambling, and you're usually going to lose on those gambles. But more importantly, you have so many more resources that if you try to expect that in pub play, everyone dies. Because no one's going to use all their resources that restrictively. Now, we have the more talkable, the one that's merit is balancing the game for pub play with competitive players in the process. Now, there is a reason why this is still something that should be done as an advisory role, because competitive players are always going to know everything that can be done. You have to imagine a puppy is just a puppy. He's just a puppy. He's not knowing like, okay, so when my teammate gets chased around this corner, I'm going to make sure to stun. He's going to know to come to me. I'm going to know to stun. It's going to be so good, and we're going to do that all the time. That's just not happening. It's just not. Like, it can happen, but like having that for every pub lobby, it's not going to exist. At least having it for more than like two people in the lobby. One guy might be being useful, two guys might be useful, but on average it's going to be only one or two per lobby. So you can only balance up to that point, maybe three if you want to make the game more killer-sided, but it should be. It should still be more killer-sided than it is right now. Now, we have to address competitive players expanding on the former are going to have a lot of different problems than pub players. Now, Elliot, universal issue for the game. In competitive, you're still an unwinnable chase. In pubs, you should be an unwinnable chase. So if you're really bad at the game in pubs, sure, you're gonna die on Elliot, but you're still Elliot. Now, Dusakar, for example, usually not that strong in pubs. In competitive, best supporting role character, not the best support you could say, because Elliot has a get out of jail free card. You can actually chase Dusakar, but Dusakar still has the most support. And with a good team, as you're going to have in comp, Dusakar is going to be fine for survivability. But in pubs, no. Now, I just want to add, they still shouldn't have buffed Overheal, but that's another thing to talk about another day. But more importantly, I want to talk about a very big shortfalling of balancing the game, even with the weight of competitive players, and why they cannot be taken too much. Like, you can't have too much weight from them. In Team Fortress 2, after Counter-Strike's esports scene got so big, Valve saw dollar signs in their eyes, right? They were thinking, this wee TF2 guy here, he could work as a pretty good game like this too. So, what their goal ended up being is they started putting more and more weight into competitive players, which meant when they were balancing the game and they were changing things, they were looking to what they were complaining about a lot too. The issue here is that that's not going to work super well. It's going to take away fun things in pubs. It's going to take away things that work fine in pubs. To talk about an example from Team Fortress 2, you have the Ambassador. The Ambassador was a gun in TF2 for Spy, a revolver that could headshot players, which usually the Spy cannot do with his revolvers in TF2. This was basically completely fine. If you were a Team Fortress 2 player before the 2017 nerf, tell me how many times you were sniped across the map and getting shot down by an Ambassador Spy. Now, I just want to address a point that people might make. Okay, so you're saying we're talking about the general pub. Why if we balance a second version of the game for comp players or competitive, like pro servers with different balancing? I'm sorry to break it to you, but no dev has any incentive to do this. You see, there's a lot of stuff when you need to think about when you're asking for stuff from a game. What incentive do the devs have to do to make pro servers that are not just like for higher playtime players, better win ratios? That's fine, that doesn't take much effort. But rebalancing their entire game for pro players, what incentive do they have to do this? That would take so much time for so little reward for them. That's just, sometimes in making a game, you have to consider what is worth the time and effort. It would be nice, but that's not happening. It's just not going to happen. Like, this isn't a real argument to say, oh, what if we do this and that? No, you have to make a balance that suits the best. Like, if I was to give an estimate off my head, 70% pubs, 30% competitive. Like, you have to weight more towards pubs. Now, you should still have good pub players for balancing. Because if you balance for the lower echelon of pub players, it's still not good for the game, because better players are going to end up in the survivor-sided mess we are now. Like, I'm not saying competitive has no input to offer. Like, the lower end of pubs is going to be infinitely worse to balance the game around than a competitive scene. But at the end of the day, you have to really consider the fact, is this worth it for the game? Like, sure, if you nerf Guest again, he'll be more fair for good players. He's still going to be a pressure character with charge, but like, it's going to just ruin the experience more for people who like playing him who aren't so good at the game. And that's fine. If you're not good at the game, if you're here to have fun, you don't care about having a terrible win-loss ratio, that's fine. The point is, a lot of people don't seem to understand when you're making and balancing a game, there is a real middle ground you have to focus on. Forsaken is still falling short. They're still overcompensating for players. Like, the 1X rework was probably the worst one to start with a super buff, because now they're going to shy away from doing more buffs like that, even though they should. They just chose the gamble character that felt unfun to do it on. And again, there's value in focusing on what the competitive side can do. Like, as I said, you can see the ability seedlings for abilities. Like, Slash, we all know what Slash can do. As I said, Slash just stuns the killer, and that's all it can do. But like, V Bumper, right now, people call V weak, but V is a very strong character. Now, where is she in pubs? Actually, it's in the middle. She's a hard to play character. But if you play her well, even if you're not super comp, you're going to do very, very good with her unless you're hard targeted, which, let's be honest, most people don't know who to target first. So you're going to be fine. You're going to get set up. You're going to have your 50 extra health on your battery. You're going to be fine. And like, if you want people to stay in Forsaken, we have to really think about what made this game popular. Like, if you go back, why did people enjoy the early days of Forsaken, minus the fact we had no drama, none of that shit? It's because the game was fun, it was casual, it's like, oh my god, look at this wacky stuff, it's so silly. Like, no one was thinking, yes, I'm gonna hyper optimize. No one was thinking that. If you want the game to thrive and do well, we have to cut out how survivor-sided it is, yes. Because it's too survivor-sided at this point. But we do not need to bring comp players into the main discussion. We need some comp players, like, actually knowledgeable on how to make a decent game. Like, if we can get some comp players with some game design ideas to be on the testers, we'd be happy out. Because right now, a lot of the testers aren't that great at the game, which isn't great. Like, if all the testers were about, like, the level of someone with 25 days in pubs, and then you had, like, a few comp players sprinkled in there to give the advisory, that would probably leave Forsaken in a perfect state if they made sure to, like, focus on thinking what would be best for player experience. Because, like, killer should always feel fair for you. Like, there's interactions that are just unfair. We need to remove things like Jane Doe being able to just cancel Void Rush and all, being able to stun, spike, and lag, and not have unstoppable trigger. Things like that do need to be fixed. It doesn't feel fair for the killer. Just things like that. We don't need an entire Rio Hall for the game for competitive. Please stop people asking that. I can't believe this is where we've gotten to. Anyways, sorry for a rambly video, but I felt like just talking about this. Anyways, that's about it. See ya.